Hello everybody and welcome to the EIA Open Day. So we're going to give you an hour today. We're going to do a whistle-stop tour of our MSc in Communication, Behaviour and Credibility Analysis. And what we're going to do is I'm going to hand over shortly to our tutor who's in the training studio over here, Erin Garner. He's going to give you a good run through of what you'll be covering with us over the 2-year MSc. But just before we get to that point, if everyone just wants to make sure they can see us clearly, you can pin the video. So if you follow the 3 small dots at the very top of the screen, you should be able to have a drop-down menu with pin, and that'll make sure our screen is nice and clear so you can see Erin clearly on the stage. So if you all would like to do that now, and as well, just to help us, could you all let us know in the chat box, please, where you currently are, so where you reside in your country, and possibly even the city you're in, please. That would be fantastic. Okay, so we got some UK, nice. Guernsey, lovely. Indiana, US, wow. Budapest, lovely. And you know what, this actually is very similar to what we see on the program. So they're hugely diverse as far as career-based, but also country, which for us as behaviour analysts is fantastic because we can draw on all the different characteristics and traits we get from different fields and different countries. So what I'll do now, without further ado, is I will pass over to Erin. So Erin is the lead trainer of the program. So if you do decide to come on the MSc, you'll be seeing a lot of Erin, and you're certainly going to see him now. So I'll hand over to Erin right now.
Hello, how are you all? Excellent. Oh, good. We get thumbs up. Yeah. By all means, come on camera and join us, or you can just say, yay, I'm fine if you wish from the background. Feel free to kind of jump on. If you want to ask any questions, chuck it into chat. We've got people manning the chat in the background over there and over there. That can help as well. So I'm going to give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour, telling you a little bit about who we are. My theory is you kind of already know that, you're here, so you know roughly who EIA is. But we're going to go down who we are, then we'll take a look at what the program actually looks like, the sorts of things that can be covered, an overview of the units in particular, and then we're going to finish off with the frequently asked questions that we typically get about the program. And then maybe if we've got some time left over at the end, then we can open the room and you can ask some questions. If you do have questions though, pop them in the chat. If we don't get around to answering them within this period of time that we've got together, then we'll make sure that we answer them in an email and send them to you so that you've got all of the answers you need. Yep, is that okay with everybody? Excellent, wonderful. Thumbs up, waves, interpretive dance, all of those things are absolutely fine with me. So, okay, so EIA group, training, consulting, and research. So we do all 3 of those things. Obviously training, including the higher education side, is much of what we do, and that's what you're here to kind of learn more about. We spend a great deal of our time teaching various different courses, units, and programs like this. So the MSc program is one element, but we work within organizations as well across different fields. And there's sometimes that crossover between the training of some of the content, knowledge, and skills that we train within the MSc, and then moving that even further into application when we move into the consultancy side, when we actually help people take that information even more and embed it within their organizations to make effective changes where people are involved and human behavior. And then research. Now, clearly, we'll do our own research within EIA, so we've all got some level of scientific background to come into this program with. Myself, my research was specialized in cognition, attention, so that's my thing. I do like to talk about mindfulness, attention, and cognition and those elements, which is hugely foundational to much of what we do as behavior analysts, and is one of the units that we will cover on the program. So that's one of the elements, but we all have different areas of research. And one of the big factors that the reason I love getting out of bed in the morning is because our students are doing new research each time, and our job is to help support that new research and develop the scientific field as we move through. So yes, we enjoy the training side. We also like to help with the application side, which forms part of the training, and then develop and build out the literature that is out there right now and kind of develop the field. So at EIA, we're on a mission to revolutionize higher education by promoting a new vision of academia that is dynamic, democratic, and constantly evolving. We believe in igniting a passion for learning and empowering our students to explore their potential, and we are committed to providing a supportive and collaborative learning environment that fosters practical application of knowledge. So that is our main mission. A lot of people look at academia, especially when you start to move up into higher levels, level 7 and those and beyond, if you're going into doctorate world, as being this kind of dry, dusty, lecture-y kind of process. But we've had a lot of people that have been way out of education that have come in a lot later and have really enjoyed the process. So it's about taking information that is typically deemed as inaccessible and academic, and our jobs as educators is to make that information accessible and practical. And that's the key, because there's a lot of information that's out there that's in the research that isn't at first glance easily applicable. So our job is to give you information, give you research, and point you in the right directions where it really ties into what you do as individuals. Now, I've got different people in front of me, and I can guarantee, obviously, you've got different geographic locations, but you're all different people. You deal with people in different ways because you have different professions. So your needs on how you take the information and use it in an applicable way within your own professions is something that's going to need to be tailored. And that's what we try to do in all of our workshops, our drop-in sessions, our one-to-one sessions. It's all aimed at helping you apply skill. So that's what we want to do. And constantly evolving, because the science is constantly changing as well. And as the science changed, we need to evolve to make sure that we keep on top of that. And that's a big part of our drop-ins that I'll come on to, is that kind of what's new out there, what haven't we discussed, have we seen this new research paper, and making sure we bring the new information in as well. So distance learning done right. Oftentimes, distant learning can be done as, you log on, you've got your details, and then you disappear into the background. And even in some academic contexts, for those people that have spent time at university, sometimes the connection and the engagement isn't all that. So what we try to do is make sure we get the distance learning done right and still keep that personal nature and keep that friendly touch. So engaging online workshops and drop-in sessions. We try and make all of our workshops, this one, obviously we're here having a chat now, but we do lots of work together. So lots of breakout rooms, lots of thinking, making sure that we're doing lots of problem solving, lots of analysis. Everything we teach, we try and get you to do, so that you're actually developing skill at the same time, rather than just learning academically. And then we have the drop-in sessions again, where we talk about your progress, how things are moving on, any challenges you found, perhaps you found research elements in your journey that you've got questions on, and we can help deal with those questions. But we also do one-to-one. So throughout the course, the tutor team is there to support you all the way through. If you've got any questions, if life's throwing you curveballs, if you need time because you've got deadlines coming up, but life has thrown you a big curveball and you don't know how you're going to deal with it, then the tutor team is there to support you. Our job is there to help you succeed and go through the program and come out the other end of it with a degree that you are proud of, and that developed knowledge, skill, and application. We do that through an online learning management system, as you would expect, where you'll get access to all of your information, and you'll get other things on there as well. So I'll come on to that. You have a learning management system as well as your ebook area, and there's a research database as well, so that you can get access to the most current research. And then EIA's team support. We've got a range of people with a range of specialisms, I've already said, and we've got people that specialize more in the emotional intelligence side. We've got deception, we've got linguistics, and we'll come on to each of those units, and we'll have different specialisms that will help that. We do try and pull in guest speakers as well. So we've got a few of those lined up for the cohort coming up, where we'll have people coming in that are linked to what we're studying, and they'll present some of their experience that might be a slightly different perspective to the things covered on the program itself. And then professional experience. Now, this isn't just us up here talking about something and giving you knowledge and skills and saying, go and do this, trust us, it works. We've done this, we do this, we've worked in high-stakes security contexts, we've worked with organizations to help them develop security projects, we've worked with HR companies, with recruiters, with managers to make sure that they're dealing with their staff in an effective way through use of emotional intelligence, starting from the top and working their way down to really embed that kind of psychological safety and emotional intelligence within organizations. So we know what we're talking about, we've been there, we've done that, and we try and push that through. And with your help, we'll see some of this technology, some of this information, some of the application really push forward into various different professions in the world. And again, this is about knowledge and skill. We're trying to create research practitioners. So you are the research practitioners of the future. So it's very easy to go through programs, whatever level of education it might be, and you learn some nice information. You can talk to people in a coffee shop or when you meet your friends and family. You can give them lots of really interesting information, but are you actually doing anything with it? So our aim is to create research practitioners. So not only are you learning the skills of research, if you haven't already got those skills, you're developing your own research and you're finding a way to apply it in the real world as a practitioner. And that will be different for everybody on the program and is different. So right now I'm supervising quite a few people as they're going through the program, and each one of them, every supervision call is a completely different situation, because some people might be looking at helping the acting community with imposter phenomena, for example, or we might be looking at people that are working within care homes that include autistic children, and how some of the areas around emotional intelligence that we talk about might help in those sectors. So we've got these big areas, and then we've got areas of security as well, and more the deception side. So for the people that are interested in law enforcement or the criminal justice system, all of these things apply. So we've got different areas that we can look at, and it's really down to you to lead the way in that, to become research practitioners. So across the board, as Harry's just said, a spectrum of people, professions, locations, and ages. We've had people that are career academics. You know, they've gone through the degrees, they're coming through, and they're learning, and they're on their career journey through academia, and they're the younger end of that spectrum. And then we've had people that are retired, potentially retired quite a while back, but really want to upskill, and they're really interested in learning more about human behavior, and they'll come on as well. So we've got a whole range of age, and then we've got a whole range of cultural differences and geographical locations, and it's fantastic because it makes any conversation we have on things like body languages or bias or heuristics or how we interact with each other, conversational practice, interactional styles, all of those things are rich conversations when you have a group of people from all over the world talking about those things together. So this is why we absolutely love what we do and the diversity of the groups that come on to the program. So again, the people that do come on program typically like our program, which is fantastic. And here are just some examples that I wanted to pull out because they kind of highlight some of the key aspects of the program. So as a recruiter, I've improved my capacity for assessing credibility in candidates who are often inclined to impression management. Using AI's methodologies greatly improved my selection accuracy. I've also learned what not to do. So this is one aspect, and it will tie into the professional coach there as well. Oftentimes we are conditioned, we've gone through a period of time, we've got our professional process, and sometimes we always do, and we continue to do what we've always done in the past. And sometimes just someone opening that up and giving you an extra set of tools to help you, so the knowledge and the information, but also then that application piece to really make a difference in this area. And in particular, Artemis in this case was talking about impression management. And it's something that we all do. Everyone does impression management, which is about, I'm trying to put on the best version of me. I'm doing it right now. In fact, I'm wearing a suit. I don't wear a suit when I'm sitting at home playing with my kids. This is part of impression management. I do sometimes wear a suit at home, but that's not the case. We always do impression management. And if you understand impression management, then you can use impression management. Clearly, we'll do it, use it more effectively, but you can see impression management and you can see it done well and not so well, and what people might be trying to achieve in certain situations. So we'll talk a lot about impression management, influence, and the psychology behind those aspects as we go through. Professional coach here. Again, deep interest in body language and human behavior. Amazing, great research out there that I didn't know about. And this is one of the aspects about the topic of body language. Who here has got a body language book? Has anyone here got a body language book or read a body language book? Yes, yes. How many body language books do you have, Richard? Just the one or a selection of them? The fact you're thinking about it tells me you've got more than one. Excellent. So yeah, there's a lot of body language books out there. And the problem with a lot of the literature on things like body language is that they're typically written from a cultural perspective of the author. It's very difficult to generalize body language. So you need to understand the fundamentals of what do we mean by body language, but how does culture change those things? And how does context within culture change those things? So just because you understand body language within the context of an interview doesn't mean the body language of that same individual isn't going to be completely different in a completely different interactional context. So what we try to do is essentially rule out all of that X equals Y body language mythology that tends to be out there. When people do this, it means this. We know that is not the case. And yeah, people can write books until they're blue in the face about it, but that is not generalizable across the global population in all contexts. So it's really understanding the nuances of that kind of communication. And it's great that where you've got people working in situations such as coaching, where it really is important to understand that sociocultural difference with each of your clients that are coming through to make sure that you're not making bad mistakes in the way that you're reading body language. And then company executive here, again, someone that was outside of formal education. So thrilled to decide to go ahead with the MSc, friendly team. And this is the thing I like. It's friendly team. What we try not to do is we are lecturers, but we're not lecturers. We want you to be friends. We tend to build a family, and our cohorts come out of the program and we've created lifelong friendships because much of what we talk about is very much linked to our own kind of emotional lives, our own levels of self-awareness, pressure management. And so some of the conversations we have and some of the debates we might have can be quite deep and enriching. And when you have a group of people across the world talking about those things, it can create quite strong bonds. So we've had a lot of people that thought that they couldn't do education anymore, because they've been way out of it, and have come in later and have created great relationships and learned a lot along the way. And then finally, aviation security here. Never been to university. Now, why would you sign up for a master's degree or even attempt to if you've never been to university? Now, we need to make sure you succeed. So that is the pinnacle. So it's really important that if you've been out of academia for a long period of time, or you've not been there, or you're not sure you've got the right level of skills and education, please contact us, because we've had people that have got strong professional backgrounds and other relevant educational backgrounds that can play into this. So please make sure that you contact the team, fill in an application form, send it in, and then have a chat with our team, because just because you've not done years of education, formal higher education previously, doesn't necessarily discount you from it. So please make sure that you do contact us. So yeah, we've done a lot of work with a lot of different people in different sectors, but we cover the same topics for all of those people. And what we try to do is, as we go through, again, tailor it. So right at the outset, we're going to make sure we try and get some expectations about what people are really wanting to achieve from the master's degree program. And then we get to know each of you as we move through the program. And then we can kind of add in, we can mold, we can bring things in. If we see some great research pop up that's linked to your profession, then we'll make sure we bring that in, because it's important to us that we make sure we evolve and tailor as much as possible. But the course itself, let me just show you what it looks like as an overview. I'm assuming have you got a copy of the prospectus already? You've got some of those elements? Yeah, okay, good. So this should be a bit of a refresher for you, just to cover off. So we do a 2-year program, and then in the first year, we're going to start with behavior analysis. Now that's a 15 credit program. That's going to be a live workshop. So we're going to spend time together working in groups, doing lots of behavior analysis work. And that's coming at basically an overview of all of the things that we're really going to dive into throughout the rest of the course. So essentially it's your first kind of induction module. We're going to be covering 6 channels of communication. So we'll be looking at all of those areas. We'll be diving in, doing lots of work together in a live workshop before we then go into the other online workshops. Now I'll cover these off separately in a moment, but we do a live workshop. You'll have an online induction session as well, and then there are 6 workshops or online units in between. So attentiveness, mindfulness, investigative interviewing, psychophysiology, linguistics applied, emotional intelligence, face of lies and emotion, and then we cap off the end with another bigger masterclass session as well, where we do a big live workshop. In each of these, though, we do still have drop-in sessions where we're going to drop in, we're going to discuss everything that we're learning and making sure that you're happy with the content and get an idea of what you're looking at studying from an assessment point of view as we move through. So we're going to cap off with that masterclass in year 1 before we then move into year 2, where we do another 3 10-credit units, research methods, psychosocial aspects of behavior analysis, and then criminology and behavior analysis. But the bulk you'll see from this particular year is that research project that runs across the bottom. Now, right from the beginning of year 1, we're going to be trying to get you thinking about that second year, not deciding on your research question or exactly, writing your dissertation from day 1, but having a thought of what's interesting you, what's piquing your interest, how are you going to make a difference in your world or in your own personal life or professional life, whatever that might be, and what really interests you, so that when we get to this stage, you've got an idea or a few ideas of sorts of things you'd like to look at, and then we start that ball rolling across with the research methods unit. Now, many people get to that point and still have no idea, which is why in our year 2 induction session, we spend a lot of time working on research questions, generating ideas, having those group discussions so that you can take all the information that you've learned throughout the other units and push that through into a research project that you can be proud of and has some level of impact that you're trying to achieve. So all of these units are going to be deployed through an online learning portal. So we've got our learning management system. We've got core text e-library as well. So there's no buying the core books. We do expect people to go off and obviously study and look at links, go off, find their own research. There'll be hundreds of books out there that you can read that will be linked to what we talk about, but we will make sure that you have the core text available through our e-library. So you'll have those. And using some software, you can download those for a period of time of the unit as well to make sure that you've got that content. Many people still want to go and buy the books. I get that. A lot of people like hard copy and the smell of the paper, but we do provide you with the core texts so that you don't have to go and buy all of those, which can be quite pricey. And then research database. We provide you with the EBSCO research database as well. And that research database is going to really help you. There's plenty of information in there that you can start to search on. Whatever area you're looking at covering, you can dive into that research database and find the most recent research for you. If there's anything that you can't find or you're really interested in that you don't seem to find the answer for, then we'll make sure that we can find relevant papers for you. We'll help you out with the way that you're searching, and then we will make sure that you are guided in the right way. And if we've got them, we'll just provide you with papers that might help you. So we work through the EIA learning portal then. Here's an example. The home thing, everything is deployed through one thing, nice, simple. You'll have all of the courses that you're enrolled in at that time that we've released. They'll appear on your homepage. And then the units, if you're familiar with any kind of e-learning, you'll be very familiar with this kind of format. Everything will be presented in video format. There is document format as well, and it will just work your way down through the video content. And again, you'll always have your personal tutor available and the drop-in sessions as well for each of the units. Again, we can see as it comes down, we will be ticking off the content to make sure we've covered it. It's all filmed in high definition so that you will be able to get nice clear images of everything that we're discussing. You'll also be able to track your study. So as you move through, you'll be able to see what you've achieved, what you haven't achieved, how much time you spent online. This person was clearly very diligent at 237 hours. So that's over a long period of time as they moved into year 2. And then you can track kind of the amount of time you spent online, how many active courses you've had, and equally kind of the achievements that you've made and some of the scores that you've achieved. You'll be able to see all of that output so that you've got all of the information about your own progress. We've got that obviously, and you've got that too, so that you can see your progress as you move through. And then, as I said, you've got the research database and the ebook library. So when we click on those, you'll be able to do your searches, whether it's on, here's an example here from Motion Intelligence, which will bring up some of the full texts and full PDFs. This searches hundreds of thousands of journals and academic literature to provide this, and this is provided through EBSCO. And then again, an example through Deception, so you sometimes get the video output as well from this. So EBSCO does provide some of the full text journals. If it does provide things like abstracts, if you're doing any searching and you can't get hold of it, then you'll have some access through the fact that you are dual enrolled with EIA and with MMU as well. So that you'll have greater access. And if you can't find a particular paper, then we'll see if we can source anything for you if for some reason you come to a dead end or a paywall, but that shouldn't typically happen. And then the ebook library provided by ProQuest. We'll make sure that we provide that. Here you can read online if you're fine with reading online, or again, you can download, so essentially you're renting the book. This will provide you the information you need for the period of that unit, and we try to make sure that we have unlimited access so that if one person has got it, so can everybody else at the same time. So there's no restricted downloading or restricted online viewing, one person at a time or anything like that. So unit overviews. Then in year 1, as I said, we start with behaviour analysis, and this is the core of what we do. So this is about how do we spend time making sure that we really understand human behaviour in the right way. So there's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of great research out there, but there's a lot of research that has been done and then misinterpreted. The whispers has gone through and misinterpreted by the media. And our job is to explain, okay, how can we effectively look at the behaviour of other people and make great decisions about other people and help other people, especially in high stakes situations where perhaps you're in a management situation or a counselling situation, or you're a leader, or you're in law enforcement or security. You need to make the right people decisions. So we bring in the most recent science. We'll talk about multi-channel analysis. So we're going to be looking at the face, we're going to be looking at the body, we'll be looking at interactional style, voice, psychophysiology, and verbal content. All of the things that people communicate with and not focusing on just one channel. So we're not focusing just on body language or just on face or just on one area. So we'll really drill down into all of those aspects on behaviour analysis. So you'll get, again, kind of a whistle-stop tour where we do a lot of practical work analysing behaviour on that initial workshop. And that's in order that we can then move on and develop you even further from that first workshop. And in particular, attention and mindfulness, because you cannot pay attention to people's behavior and make good decisions where humans are involved if you're not paying attention and in particular being in the present. So I'm sure many of you have been in conversations or in professional contexts where you're having a conversation and you're trying to think about what you're going to say next, or you're thinking of a great question to ask, and at that point you're not being mindful. So we spend a lot of time on how do we pay attention, how can paying attention in the wrong way actually cause huge problems, and what techniques such as mindfulness, what techniques can we use to really hone our attention so that we can be better at analysing behaviour. And again, we'll look at aspects of cognition and emotion and how biases and all of those elements might play a part into elements of attention. Psychophysiology. we do dive into areas of, for example, the brain. So we're going to talk about how the brain functions, but not in a way that's completely impractical. The reason we talk about some aspects of brain is so that when you're doing a research, if you're seeing a lot of neuroscientific terminology, you understand it. So we try and give you access to what sometimes people feel is slightly inaccessible unless you've already studied neuroscience. We give you that information. But it's really to understand the human nervous system so that when people are having a stress response, and that could be in a helping relationship, it could be in an interview situation, it could be in an interrogation room or an interview room or wherever it might be, the stress response is a core part of what we do, and you really need to understand how the stress response works, different aspects of the stress response from the brain through to the rest of the body, and what we can actually see and understand about the people in front of us from looking at that channel of the autonomic nervous system. So we dive into that area in a way that we don't need machines. If you've got machines, that's great. So if you've got some elements of EEGs or an fMRI or something like that, you can scan people's brains and you can check for electrical impulses in the brain or blood flow in the brain. Maybe you've got polygraphs, so you've had experience with polygraph. Those are great, but it's not great for real-time, day-to-day interactions. You are not going to be putting people through an fMRI. You're not going to be putting a cap on for EEGs, and you're unlikely to be using polygraph unless you're in law enforcement and you're already in that situation and you have access to that equipment. But you still need to understand it in a way that helps you use it effectively and not misread a lot of the technology that's out there. So in this unit, we also dispel a lot of myths around technology, such as polygraph, for example. Polygraph is very ineffective at detecting deception. So if deception is something you're interested in, then it's better to throw a human in there than it is polygraph, because polygraph is open to huge amounts of errors. So psychophysiology, then we move into investigative interviewing, which is clearly part of the process I just talked about. How do you actually engage with people and get information out of them in a way that's effective and gets the information you need? Now, that could be formal interview process. So some of you might be involved in interviewing people in a more formal way, maybe in recruitment or in, what could be education, could be anything, but a more formal aspect of interviewing. So you might have a process that you follow. Even if you have a process, you still need to be aware of you and the other person, and emotion intelligence will thread all the way through. From behavior analysis all the way through, we're going to be talking about how you understand yourself and your impact on the relationship in an interview situation and the other person, and how this dynamic situation is working in an interview. And all interview processes are different. So we'll be talking about some interview processes that we value, that we've created, and we'll be talking about some interview processes and the research behind them that may be less effective, and we might throw some cautions in there about some types of interview processes. Because if anyone here has been on the wrong end of a bad interviewer, you'll know what I mean. You're there, you're trying to provide the best version of you, and the interviewer is not going to make it very easy for you. You're perfectly innocent, or you're in a recruitment interview for an employment, and the interviewer is very stern and is asking you very direct questions. Now, people need to know how to respond under pressure, but that kicks off your sympathetic nervous system, which changes your behavior, which can throw all different messages out there, and then we can be misinterpreted. So we need to make sure we understand ourselves. We need to understand our impact on the way we ask questions, the types of questions we ask, and how that impacts the other person. And is there more effective ways of doing that? Now, that's a formal interview process, but we also look at the less formal and more perhaps covert or implicit interviewing. So how do we get information out of people without asking questions? So how might we use conversational process in order to elicit information? So for those people that work in situations where perhaps it's coaching and you want to be more indirect about getting information out of people, maybe it's in undercover work. We have a lot of undercover people, security people that have come on the course in the past, and those people need to get information out of people without sounding like they're asking lots of questions. So how might we get information from people if we're doing it in a more covert way. So we call it elicitation. So we touch on different aspects from direct kind of process through to more formal process, and then semi-formal, where you're relaxed, but you are there to ask questions. So we talk about different aspects of questioning and interview process. We also talk about the caveats around how different people are likely to respond, and some of the caveats that we have to put in place where you have vulnerable witnesses, for example. So we'll talk about if you've got people that are very young, very frail, or have different developmental concerns, then how might we change our interview process to help that individual give the best version of themselves within the interview in order to make sure that we're not being misled or coming across as oppressive or anything like that. So we talk about a lot of information. And again, we're trying to draw out from you all the way through it. What do you need? How are you using this information? What roles do you have where you interact with people? Now, you might not be a formal interviewer, but you talk to people. It might be that you're in sales. It might be that you're in negotiation or something like that. So you're not necessarily an interviewer, but you do have interactions where you're trying to understand the people in front of you, and it applies in those situations as well. And then we move on to linguistics applied. So this is where we're talking about the verbal channel, the words people actually use. And Professor Dawn Archer, who is a member of our team, member of the tutor team, she also is a lecturer at MMU. And she'll run you through the linguistics applied, and this is really about the actual words. So what do the words that people use mean? What can we learn from it? What might be going on? How can we learn about people's thought processes, their emotions, their attitudes? What can we learn about the individual themselves just by the choices of the words? And then we touch a little bit on things like forensic linguistics and corpus linguistics and statement analysis, and how we can look at statements and think, okay, are we seeing, is this a credible statement, which is, could this have happened the way that this person is saying it's happened in this statement, just from the verbal content? Now, we're always going to come back to wider multi-channel, but that's one area that we focus on, is really drilling down into the content side. And then face of emotion, you're probably very familiar with. You've seen a lot of research out there. We do touch on the face as well. So we'll be looking at things like the facial action coding system, how the face is used for emotion, for cognition, and for interaction and regulating the conversation. So right now you see my eyebrows moving a lot. That's what I do when I talk. I often emphasize with my eyebrows, I brow mark. That does not mean I'm perpetually surprised because I raise my brows. So we have to understand the difference between conversational facial expressions, regulation facial expressions, signaling, emotion, and cognition, and we dive into those different aspects of face. Emotional intelligence, as I've already said, and we continue to say all the way through the program, threads everything. You have to understand yourself. You have to be able to manage yourself, then understand other people in order to have better relationships. So everything we do will wind its way through those areas of emotional intelligence, from self-awareness, self-management, awareness of other people, and managing relationships. And everything we learn will have a touch point on that. And in this particular unit, we'll look at the history of emotional intelligence. What do we know about emotional intelligence? How do we define emotional intelligence? How do we measure emotional intelligence? And really drill into to the EI side of things, because many of you will be coming on this program to really explore that emotional intelligence side as well. So this is threaded throughout. You cannot do behavior analysis well unless you have a good level of emotional intelligence. So hopefully, if you're not aware of your emotional intelligence, by the time we get to that unit, we'll start to bring those back up to make you far more effective behavior analysts as you're studying through the program. And then we finalize that year one program with the masterclass, which is where we all come back together again and we take all of the information that we've already covered, and we do exercises, we do application, we do, again, more guest speaking, we talk about how this can all be applied, and we practice. So we'll have a go at doing different kinds of interview methodologies. We'll do some more statement analysis work together. And so we do a masterclass process where we work through 2 days spread apart. So we have 1 day workshop, then there's a gap because there is a really nice piece of homework that's really fun No one likes the word homework, but it's a fun exercise that we put between the 2 days that we can then debrief on the second day to really engage and start to embed everything you learned in year 1. So then year 2, there's less in the way of units in year 2 because the main focus is going to be the research project. But on the research project, the first thing we do is make sure you understand how to write a research proposal. So we're going to help you along the way to make sure, if you've never done research before, really getting an idea of what your research question is, what kind of things do you want to look at, how might you look at that, what techniques might you use, and start to think about writing your research proposal. And that's one of the 10 credit units in year 2. Once we've done that, we add a bit more information. So we start to broaden out from the social psychology side, and we add more sociology as well. So we're bringing into the psychosocial aspects where we start to look at culture, gender, age, socioeconomic status, all of those aspects, and how all of these things, how society and socialization, how does all of that impact all of the things we've talked about previously. So we can't assume that when we're talking about whether it's psychosocial, psychophysiological, whether it's verbal content or the face, we make the assumption that this is the way humans are. No, we do have to think about the context of society, of culture, and all of the things in between to make sure that we understand how that impacts emotional intelligence, emotions generally, communication, deception, and all of those aspects. So we bring more information in there to broaden it out from psychology into sociology as well. And then criminology. Now people think, well, I'm not a law enforcement officer, I'm not a judge, I'm not a barrister, why would I need to know about criminology? In criminology we talk about crimes, so what is a crime, what is a criminal, what is the criminal justice system, and we're all part of it. So the reason that you go through life making the decisions you do is because you are part of the criminal justice system and you understand the laws of your land. So whether you think you're into criminal justice or not, you are. So here we're focusing on how does behavior change? So where does somebody come from this kind of normative behavior? Where is the line where things might become slightly more deviant, and where is that line crossed to become more criminal? And what impacts that change? We might look at things like sociopathy or psychopathy and those aspects, radicalization. We look at a lot of those aspects to think, how does the world and society impact people and change the way they behave dramatically, which means they end up on the wrong side of the criminal justice system. So how can good people become bad people? And I use both of those in inverted commas because that's very subjective. And we talk about those, and then we talk about the individual areas of criminal justice system. How do you identify crime? How might you monitor crime? How do we fight crime? Then how do we sentence? How do we go through the court process, the trials, all the way through to rehabilitation? And we talk about those elements and how a lot of what we do when it comes to emotional intelligence and behavioral analysis, how does that impact those areas? So we touch on a lot of the areas of criminal justice system, but still, again, bringing in all of the areas that you've already discussed and already studied, because there is huge amounts of good that can be done in that world. And year 2, the big thing is the one. I love all of the content that we do in both years, but this is where I get very, very excited, because this is where I get to help students and other members of the tutor team as well make a difference. So how are we going to make a difference? What do you want to look at? What do you want to test? What do you want to focus on in order to think, wow, I've got a really important, I've never seen any research done on this. We've looked at all of this stuff and I've not seen anyone talk about this or write about this. Can I do that? Now, sometimes we'll be like, that sounds like a PhD, but what part of it can we do? So we can start you on your journey of becoming that research practitioner. And by this point, you should already be most of the way there. But how are you going to make a difference in the world? Changing and developing understanding of human behavior is what we're about. How are you going to develop our understanding and help us grow? Because every project that comes through the doors of EIA has helped me no end, because it broadens my understanding, because I would never, for example, have looked at necessarily the acting community in the way that one of my students is currently doing it now, or looked at the stigma of knife crime, or there's lots of different aspects that students will bring up that makes me think, and that's fantastic, and it really keeps us going, keeps us alive as well. So, and it's building a foundation for those that follow. So what's great is that as you come into the program, we've got previous people that have done their dissertations and their projects, so that feeds into the program, so that we know more about that particular area that no one had ever looked at. So you're building that scientific literature and you're helping those that follow your footsteps in the program as well. So we try and support from application all the way through to graduation. So right at this stage, you're already speaking to the office. We'll support you in any way we can from that application stage all the way through to graduation and beyond. So I'm in touch with our alumni. We've got an alumni group, and we like to get together, and we've got the graduation ceremony coming up in the middle of this year where we're hoping to have a nice big group of people from, I think, 3 different cohorts coming together, and we'll all have a bit of a celebration about what we've achieved throughout the period. So a lot of support from application through to graduation, and then assessments with constructive feedback. So we will tell you what you've done really well, and we'll give you some great information on how you can improve at every step, at every assessment, all the way through the unit. So each unit has an assessment, and you will be getting great feedback on the back of each of those assessments. So with every step, you'll develop and develop and develop. That's the idea. Administration, financial support, the office is there to provide you any information that you need to help you from an administrative point of view, financial point of view. And then personal tutors, so me being one of them, other members of the tutor team as well. We're here to support you. We want you to succeed. We enjoy it when you're doing the research as well. So we learn just as much from our students as you'll learn from us as well. And then we're going to continue that development, that one-to-one process through email and face-to-face. And then experienced, knowledgeable research supervision. So we make sure that when you do your research project, you will have a supervisor that really understands the area of research. Now, we might not know the specifics of the particular profession that you're following or the particular sector that you want to look at, but we do know the kind of research that would best fit that and who would best fit as your supervisor. So we make sure that you have supervision that helps your way through, and we have very regular touch points on that to make sure that you don't feel that you're floundering and you don't know where you're going with the research project. So right towards the end, we're always going to put loads of support in your direction. So that was a whistle-stop tour of the program as we go through. And I'm going to hand over now to Harry, who's going to touch on some of the frequently asked questions that we are often asked.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, so we put out some feelers a couple of weeks ago in the run-up to this open day, just to ask if anyone had any particular questions they wanted us to address. So I've got a selection of those here, which I'll run through, because I feel like some of these will apply to a few of you. Now, the first one we got was, what job can I do after I have completed the course? Now, this is a tricky one for us because this MSc deals primarily in human behaviour, which can be applied in almost any aspect of your personal and professional life. And we actually focus primarily on people who are in work, so working professionals, because we're looking to develop that research practitioner. The idea is we will give you the skills and the knowledge that we have, so you can take that away and apply it within a context that you want to. Whether you're looking to develop a new product based with the information you have, whether you're looking at advancing your career, or whether you're just looking to work better and more harmonious with individuals. The skills we deliver on this program is all focused on making you better and more capable at communicating with others from an emotionally intelligent perspective. So the short answer is kind of anywhere you want to. And our job is to support you along those 2 years process, particularly when it gets to that final research project, is we will put pressure on you to challenge yourself and really kind of find a way that you can develop the research to support you when you get to the end. We want everyone leaving with something of true value. You will, of course, get a Master of Science certificate, which sounds cool, but really we want to give you something that you can apply for the rest of your life, both personally and professionally. So I hope that answers that question. The next one we got was, what is the relationship between EIA and MMU? It's a brilliant one. So the relationship we have is the award is granted by Manchester Metropolitan University, which is a great university, innovative university based in Manchester, literally a stone's throw behind me. And the way it works is all the training is done through EIA. So it's all our lecturers, all our tutors, all our support staff, which means you'll get very, very good support throughout the program because we're not a massive university with thousands of students. We focus very, very nichely on this area, which means we can offer the best support possible. But you do get the best of both worlds because not only do you get exceptional support and education, but you get the credibility of a big university stamp. So you get the MSc awarded by MMU and you get the content, the delivery by us. The next one, the entry requirements needed. Now, Erin touched on this a little bit. So normally to do an MSc, which is a level 7 study in the UK at least, you generally need an undergraduate degree. Now, we're targeting working professionals with this program mostly. We do get quite a few people coming from the undergraduate phase. However, a lot of people have either never gone to university or they went to university ages ago. So we can actually take professional experience as a route into the MSc. So if you have a career, if you're working in a field that's relevant to human behavior, communication, emotional intelligence, if you can show us that, we can actually use that as a way of bringing you onto the program. So what I would say is if you're in any doubt of whether you have the right credentials to come onto the program, get in touch with us because we've had many people who were fearful. They really wanted to come on the program, but they felt they couldn't because they didn't have that undergraduate degree. In many cases, it is not required. So just reach out to us, have a conversation with us, and we'll very quickly let you know whether you'll be able to succeed with the program. And we got, how much time do I need to dedicate to the MSc? Again, this is a bit of a tough one because it does depend on whether you have previous knowledge or whether you're coming in fresh. But as a general rule, 8 to 12 hours per week will give you a pass of the program, generally speaking. Now, if you really want to push forward and put way more effort into this and you're looking to, get yourself a distinction, it's going to be 12 plus hours. Now, the thing is, this is a 2-year part-time program because we know most of the people who come on this program are working full-time. So we don't want to bombard you with loads of content that's just going to be far too much to deal with when you account for your work, your family, and your education. So we do break things up. We are super flexible. And one of the things we have been doing, especially with the challenges that COVID has presented, is we can be flexible on when you go into that second year. So we've had a couple of people who have done the first year and gone, do you know what, I actually need to take a little bit of time off to focus on my business or to focus on my family, in some cases focus on my health. Is it okay if I just take some time out? And that's absolutely fine. What we can do, the flexibility of EIA, is we can pause your studies and then bring you back on a following cohort. So you can have that 12-month gap if you need it. So I hope that answers that one. And finally, the kinds of people who come on the MSc. Now, again, Erin touched on this a little bit. It's super varied. We have so many people from so many different areas, businesses, age groups, languages that come on this program. And it is an absolute blessing when it comes to trying to develop your emotional intelligence and communication skills. Because one of the things that you can't really get in any kind of book is the life lessons of individuals who have had experiences that you haven't or potentially would never have. And everyone brings that to the table and we all learn from one another. So whilst you'll get the content delivered from EIA, the peer-to-peer learning that happens on this program is bonkers. And once you combine all those aspects, it really provides a very rich learning experience. So the simple answer is it's impossible to nail down to a particular person, particular career, which is a nightmare for our marketing department, but it's amazing for the students and it's amazing for us. And I think that covers all the questions that we had. So unless there's anyone who's got a question they want to throw in the chat now, we're just hitting the hour, so I don't want to take up too much time, but feel free to throw anything in there. If you have anything you want to discuss later, by all means, drop us an email. You can reach us at service@eiagroup.com. You'll find all our details on the website as well. But it's been great having you. Thanks so much for spending your time with us. Thanks so much for listening. And on that note, I will bid you good day. All right, take care, everybody.